Hey guys, Jester Borris here with I Want to Be a GM, and we are back with D&D Through the Ages, Part 4, The Wizard. To my right.
This is Troy, the Planescape guy.
And on the left.
Gwydion, long-winded.
And we've got a thing in the background. Hold on a second.
One moment, please, while we check our producer.
Yeah.
Actually, kill our producer.
A little bit. So. But we're going to start, as
and we
always.
raised him again.
Start, as always, with the white box, originally released in 1974. So Wizard had a lot of, they were your basic glass cannon. This is 100% what they could do here. Troy, tell us a little bit about where they started with hit points relative to the fighter, which we covered last time.
Well, the fighter in the original box had 1d6. The magic user had 1d4.
Right. And then the Gwydion, as we went through some of the expansions, fighter got an upgrade to 1d8, but Wizard stayed the 1d4. Is that right?
Wizards stay 1d4 forever.
Still two.
I mean,
Still
through
today.
2, through 3 and 3, 5. Let's see.
They finally made 6 somewhere
I
along
think
the way.
6 and 5e, because in 4, the Invoker and the Wizard still had 4, but they were given 10 hit points.
Right, their base
Yeah,
was
so
done
it
a
was,
little
a
bit.
lot different on the base. But yeah, they until 5, they just stayed.
And so this
The
is,
1d4 is pretty
Freaking
lethal
hit points, yeah.
when you consider in the original box set, all weapons do 1d6 damage.
right. So
Basically, all monsters did 1.
well, and then this was the other thing to remember was that when you got your first level character on your 3x5 card, along with your 5 other ones, because they're gonna die, you got 1d4 hit points. Not you get 4. You roll a d4. You could have 1 to 4 hit points, and then the rat that you fight in the basement when you're in your adventurer's tavern bites you for 2 and you die. That's it.
There was no Constitution modifier additions to those hit points either.
No, no, not then.
In the red box, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was-
Basically, the magic user stayed in the middle of the party or went, ah! Through most of the campaign.
This is why wizards like towers. They're up away from all the stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Check this camera. I just kicked it.
anyway,
Ruh-roh.
yeah, Troy's over here kicking stuff apparently. So what was next? So we had old school marching order would put your wizards in the middle,
Yeah.
but this let's talk a little bit about the cannon side of the glass cannon. Troy and I had covered Fireball
Fireball! I'm sorry.
No.
when we did Through the Ages overview. And so the chainmail rules is where they go back and forth. Gwydion, you remember how they described this?
Actually, in chainmail, you had the catapult that would do 3.5 inches
Right.
of damage with fire, and anything that even touched it was completely destroyed.
Destroyed.
Yeah, destroyed.
That's spells per level. There's so many little tips.
The magic user in the first edition, or ODD, original edition, was a D6 per level.
Mhm.
And that was basically it.
Well, in the
And 2 inches. It had a 2-inch radius.
sure the radiuses were different, but so you got a D4 in your hit points, but Fireball said
D6.
it said this radius referred to ballista in chainmail,
Now they
and then
had that,
ballista in chainmail says this radius destroyed.
yeah, but they went on when you read a little further. It did state 1d6 per level.
Yeah.
For the magic user for the fireball, and that makes a good point because in the original D&D Volume 1 and Magic,
Yes.
right there, Magic, pages 21 to 32 were all dedicated to magic, and you can
Yeah.
see the thickness of this book right there. It was all
Massive.
dedicated to magic.
Massive printing.
But you still
Yeah.
had to refer back to the chainmail book
So they're like,
for magic to be complete.
No.
So the rules were back and forth. There was also, the spells didn't have, all of the spells didn't have range and duration. You had to read the descriptives to figure out exactly what they did. It wasn't nice and neat the way we have now with level, school, VSM, range, and all, and duration, all this other stuff. You had to read through it and find out what was mentioned, what wasn't.
Yeah.
And
so having actually played in the system, We talked a little bit about some of our favorite classes, but when you had the chance to play a wizard, did that usually go pretty well, or did you have to play a lot of wizards?
My best friend used to always play a wizard because it was just one-on-one. Back then, when it first came out, a lot of times it was just one-on-one, so we each had to play a party. Well, his first character was always usually an elf. It was a wizard or a fighter, and he might do fighter until it got up to so many hit points, then change over wizard or magic user. Sorry, wizard was a label. It was a title when you got to a certain level. You know, with sorcerer and so like warlock and such. Yeah, he loved that particular thing. I like the cleric, and so I still do. The aspect of power in original D&D with any character is there was no limit on levels. Now they would show you like levels 1 to 6 and have that kind of fleshed out, and then it would show you up to level 16, I believe it was, 16th level wizard, where it was fleshed out on the spells, and then they would give you the calculations, lots of calculations going on. They would give you the calculations on how to do it beyond that. So when wizards hit 100th level, which a lot of times they did,
be your human wizard.
Yeah, the human wizard. A lot of times as they got up in levels, it got to the point where I don't want these spells anymore, I'm going to make up my own.
Right.
And that's where it really started getting interesting or stupid, was when they got up to certain levels, they would start creating spells. So that was the exciting part. Spells like Control Sphincter. Thank you, KQ, for that little gem. Not even going to go into it.
No.
But yeah, he rolled the rolls that was allowed to do that. But there again, it was fun to play a magic user back then and watch them grow, because if you could keep them safe, that was the whole thing. You could keep them safe. They were your heavy hitter, but they could only cast their spells and then they were out.
Right. So there wasn't much like combat utility beyond magic.
Dagger. They couldn't use a bow. They couldn't use a crossbow. A dagger was it, and you prayed you got a magical dagger, which was what? +3, +2 versus like cantrips. And, you know, the explanation on daggers was like this long on anything magical. It couldn't just be +1, +2. No, they had to put all this other stuff with it. So no, it was spells or sleep. That was it. But it was still fun to play them. They just had to be protected until such time as you could either get them up in levels or wait for Greyhawk to come up.
Sure. So, as the expansions went forward, Troy, we did see new spells added. We saw with the cleric where originally 5th level spells was the top. Tell us a little bit about how they structured magic user in the early
6 levels.
6.
Yeah.
I was just looking at that.
Well, you got spell made the magic.
They
Right?
took it. Yeah.
So classics like the Lightning Bolt and Fireball have been in the game since the original printing. So those have always been awesome. Sometimes they've been unlimited. Sometimes they've been capped at like 10d6, for example, 1st and 2nd edition. But we had a lot of different things going on here in the white box.
Yeah. So I know we've got some time here. So there's one paragraph that talks about magic users.
Yeah, well, lay it on us.
It's the entire class description. Top level magic, it just starts right off.
Like if you're not the top, you're probably dead in a dungeon somewhere.
So top level magic users are perhaps the most powerful characters in the game. But it is a long, hard road to the top. And to begin with, they are very weak. Survival is often a question. Unless fighters protect the low-level magic users until they have worked up, there's a whole plethora of enchanted items that lies at the magic users' beck and call, except for arms and armor of the fighters.
Anything that would actually help them.
Yeah. Magic users may arm themselves with daggers only.
Wow.
Wizards and above.
So again, we're getting into the
12th
job
level and
title.
up, 12th level and up.
May manufacture their own use or for sale. Such items as potions and scrolls and just about anything else magical.
Wand, staves, rod,
Costs are commensurate with the value of the item,
scroll.
as in the amount of game time required to enchant it.
Mhm.
That's the whole description.
That's
So for the most part, they're walking around in the middle of the
Yeah.
party going,
well. Let's add
Because I'm
Yeah,
guilty.
right. But we'll add a little bit of context to that. In that, when it comes to magical items, the fighter had purview over magical arms and armor, but no
Yes,
other
and
magic
weaponry.
whatsoever. Well, arms.
Right.
That's arms.
oh yeah, that's right.
Wacky waving inflatable arm, flailing tube man.
Look at the time. I gotta go.
But it was the magic user that had access to stabs, potions, rods, amulets, rings, the whole
Yeah.
other gambit that became or is understood as magical items, were the purview of the magic user specifically. And so that was the other thing that really allowed them the ability to have that additional power and stand out as a class from fighters or clerics.
So we know how different classes, as they advance in levels, you get different title names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
This one here I find kind of interesting. At 10th level, they're called a what? A what? How do you
A
pronounce it?
necromancer.
Necro.
Yeah, 10th level is necromancer, just straight.
Yeah, and we didn't even correlate that back then to what we do now as
Certainly.
a necromancer or in Diablo 3, which is really cool to play. And I strongly suggest it during season 27 that's going on right now, starting
Keep
last
climbing
Friday.
your ladders.
That's right. Started Friday. I think the wife's already game shaming me. So,
That's because she's 20 levels higher than you are.
well, that's she's home and I'm out here. Dang it. So,
Yeah.
no, the necromancer, that was really interesting to me that they called it a necromancer. But
Sure.
were they raising the dead?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, no.
So, yeah, what were some of the other titles that we had on that page?
Oh, right.
Because when you get into different,
Yeah,
you know,
just
fields
run
and
down the
everything.
titles real quick of the
Yeah.
Well,
magic user.
as a magic user, first level, we call it medium.
Okay.
Then a seer, conjurer, a theurgris, I can't pronounce that. Theurgris. And then a thegometric.
Thaumaturgist.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Magician,
Mhm.
enchanter, warlock, sorcerer, necromancer, wizard.
So it seems like Tim was what, level 6? Tim the Enchanter?
Tim the Enchanter.
Yeah.
Tim the Enchanter was level
Somebody
6.
call me Tim.
Tim.
Right.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
It is.
Page 29, would you turn over there?
29
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
Follow along at home for those of you with the ability to do so. What do you got for us, Gwydion?
Is that some spell explanations on that?
There's a few on 5th level.
Is contact higher plane on that?
Contact higher plane.
Is that on that one?
It is.
It is. That was one of my favorite spells.
Oh, well, we talked last time. Divine Retribution. If you were level 1,
Oh yeah,
you had
yeah.
a 100% chance of being
Yeah,
zapped.
of going bye-bye.
So let's look a little
Contact
bit.
higher plane. Yeah, when things got desperate
thing-
and you were like, let me just go ahead and contact, well, your deity because mine knows me. We would...
And hope for the good graces of your DM.
Yeah, they already blocked your number on
yeah,
the
they
call
blocked
already.
yeah, so...
So contact higher plane. This spell allows the magical type to seek advice and gain knowledge from creatures inhabiting higher planes of existence. The referee, of course, the higher the plane contacted, the greater number of questions that can be asked. The greater the chance that the information will be known, and the higher the probability that the question will be answered truthfully.
Ooh.
Use the table below to determine those factors, as well as the probability of the magic user going insane. Only questions can be answered yes or no are permitted. So you must be oh, wait a minute.
So this
This is a 5th level spell, so
Yep.
that's 8th level?
7th or 8th.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. I forget the
Yeah.
chart on this one originally. It shifted a little bit.
Yeah, just give a couple of examples there for the folks at home.
So if you're contacting the 3rd plane, you can ask 3 questions, and there's a 25% chance of them knowing the answer,
Mhm.
and the 30% chance of veracity.
So how
Mhm.
truthful?
Yeah,
the
how
rest
truthful?
of it,
Attribution.
And chance of insanity at that point is still 0.
Yeah.
However, as you ask more questions in higher planes, you
Is
get
it
a
truthful or not?
yeah,
So that's the veracity is there's a chance that whoever you're contacting will know the answer.
Mhm.
The veracity is chance that they'll tell the truth.
Right. Whether they know the answer or not,
Yeah.
they'll tell it to you.
Let's just go to the 12th plane because you can ask 12 questions.
Yeah.
Yay. Chance of knowing the answer is 95%. Chance of veracity is 100%.
Gotta be
Alright.
truthful.
Chance of going insane, 90%.
Does anyone else imagine
I know the answer.
Lulu sitting in his underwear on his left seat,
Well,
picking up his
right.
phone?
Certainly, as you get higher up, you're like the dreamer. What? And then your whole mind shatters, and it's time for rolling a new character.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
it can happen. It can happen that quick with one spell. You take this guy that you have babied and you've worked with and has helped the party, and he does a contact higher plane once, and on the head. It's just like
him.
doing psionics for the first time. His brains leak out.
Yeah, don't do that.
So it's not good. But yeah, that was one of my faves. You were talking about being able to make money as a magic user, and that was something that was very important in the game because, adventuring usually made you money, and I think you mentioned how, or it was someone I was talking to before, but I think it was you that mentioned, I talk to too many people.
They're
Most
mostly
of
in
them
your
are
head.
real.
Yes, and there's 115 voices right now vying for FaceTime.
Right. But
So the with what he was mentioning was in this one dungeon delve module, it was like 600,000 GP was rewarded within this one just little geomorph, and something like 30 magical items were dumped on the party.
Wow.
And you wonder why we like ODD. So you wonder why we like it. But you were talking about being able to create. Well, we would make money to buy things, even if it was just for healing potions, or we would create them to take with us. Spell scrolls, 100 gold per spell for the spell level, a week. So 5th level spell would require 500 gold pieces and 5 weeks to produce. So if your group was going out, well, you had to make time for that. A simple potion of healing, 250 gold in 1 week. So if you could purchase after a raid, if you could purchase your healing, that was great. If you couldn't, you had to wait on the magic user. So there was a lot of times that we would have 2 magic users in play.
Sure.
One creating, one adventuring, and we would do that as a party. And or if somebody couldn't show up to your table and you were playing, we would go, okay, they're the magic user and they're gone doing their stuff, so you take their character. So we'd have all the characters together. You take their character and play it. And we would do that, which would help the party in the end. Cheat.
Well, it's like, hey, Steve, about last week when you couldn't make it. Yeah, Bob. Hey, you died.
No, you make potions. Wow.
Well, so one of the things too, in the white box in particular, 1 gold piece equaled 1 experience point.
Yes.
And so that could be a way you could help advance your character, particularly as a magic user, as you create magic items that have a monetary value. So then you could, sell it or exchange it.
Money
somehow.
was divided by level for experience points. That way you didn't come across, 100,000. You just directly put it to your 4th level character and went up. It's like, no, it's 100,000 divided by 4, so you get 25,000 experience points. But everything mattered. Every magical piece, every item, every jewelry, every piece of money, everything mattered to experience points.
Okay. I just found something, or I should say, I just didn't find something that's kind of disturbing to me as a magic user. I love my old magic users, 1st and 2nd edition.
Yeah.
Loved them, loved them, loved them. There's 4 spells that, in my mind, as a player, you have to have, or you just can't do that job.
So we'll go through that. It's detect magic,
That's one.
identify magic,
That's another.
read or write magic,
That's it.
and we're on a blank on the last one. It's
Read, write, detect, identify.
read, write. Oh, detect and
You have to do those 4. 3 of those 4 spells are not in this.
well, that's
book.
how you pass your mages classes. Read, write, detect, and identify.
Yeah.
It has read
Comprehend
magic.
language?
Well, no, read magic is different.
No, I understand that. But
Comprehend languages
comprehend
isn't in
language.
here either.
Oh, right.
So 3 of the 4 that I would think you would need in order to do your job are not there.
Mhm.
Sure. And we see those come out either as 1st level or later as cantrips. But
Cantrips come out later too.
right, but I mean the read, write, and
Very
identify
old
that
mystery.
all that sort of stuff. so yeah, they would come out as first level and then be reduced, or not necessarily reduced, but made more utility as a cantrip.
Because I remember exactly what he was talking about when it was up in second edition.
Yeah.
And you're getting ready to go into a dungeon or you're going adventuring, and you want everybody to have as much firepower as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could use read and write magic, and basically turn yourself into a copy machine,
Transcribing scrolls.
transcribing scrolls, and so you get a whole pile of them. And your thief, they could read scrolls and have percentage chance. Here's a scroll of lightning bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a scroll of lightning. You just pass them out. And so everybody in the party that could do spells, and especially the heavy combat and healing spells. We put some healing because potions get heavy after a while.
Sure, especially when you've got 600,000 pieces of gold.
We would transcribe.
Oh,
and
my
so you'd
wagon
have
lost its wheels.
you'd have a bag full of scrolls,
Mm-hmm.
and you just, oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong
Yeah.
one. This one. And you start reading, and bam. Because first and second edition, once you read it, it disappears as you read it.
Yeah.
So it's
Sure,
only
yeah,
usable.
it's used up.
Yeah, original D&D magic users could create their own spells. Research and magical types could be done at any level. And they show the spell progression for that. A note on scrolls on page 32 of Men in Magic.
Right, the end of the
It
magic
states-
section.
That's right. It states all scrolls are spells for magic user, and regardless of level, the level of the spell, they can be used by any magic user capable of reading them. So a first level magic user finding or buying a 6th level scroll of 7 spells was a game breaker.
Well, that was always the thing I remember playing early on. Is like, okay, I got a scroll, and I'd have to sit down later and identify it. Like, okay, it's not just Fireball. It's Fireball written by a 12th level wizard, which means now it's a D or 12d6
12d6
instead of your regular 5 or 6d6. You're like, this one I'll save for later. I'll use my other scroll of Fireball that's not quite as potent. But so there's some differences there.
All protection spell scrolls could be used by any character who was able to read.
Oh,
I mean, if you were able to read, then you were good to go. And I don't know any of our characters that we didn't have read. Maybe a half orc, because there was
finger puppets.
Yeah, that's it. And we didn't have time for marionettes. Those were popular among thieves because we would hand them protection scrolls. Look, I made these, so here, do this. This will help the party. This will help you. Read this before you go and try and disarm that trap.
Sure.
And don't steal anything before we come up.
Likely story.
Sorry.
This goes back to what I liked in the old games that we played was there's a lot of teamwork, a lot of cooperation,
Sure,
and a lot of planning. So you sit around and, okay, we got this bad guy. We know he's going to have these traps. We know he's got these henchmen. We've already run into him before. How are we going to deal with these guys?
Well, it's the difference between the dungeon delve, which presented a lot of really interesting possibilities in terms of traps or puzzles, workarounds. Even when it does come down to a combat, the way that combat can be a roadblock into the rest of the dungeon versus being set upon by the bandits on the road or something along those lines, or just, getting in a tavern brawl. It's a different playstyle for sure, and I do miss the hardcore dungeon dives.
I heartily recommend everybody put together a Saturday dungeon delve or a some weekend dungeon delve that is just that. It's hack and slash. It's a one-time event or something for your current characters.
Absolutely.
Come across one. Do a hack and slash dungeon delve because you get in a different mindset. And the one thing that I see in movies, I know you guys too, and you all out there.
Right.
The one thing we see in movies that just tears me up is look up.
Oh, yes.
I don't care where you are, look up. It's not going to be green slime dropping on you like it is in D&D, but there's going to be something up,
That was one of the original cave monsters that when I was a young player with a 3rd level dwarf, they look like they look like stalagmites or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
And you're like, ha ha ha, it's just a cave. It's beautiful. Ha! Oh, well, my dwarf fighter's out of the fight now because he's got a big stick in him.
I remember the lurker above out of Advanced D&D.
Right, so some of those got really...
underneath looked like the roof, and when they came down, it just came down and wrapped
Right.
around you like a rug of smothering.
Yeah,
in reverse.
That's because they're large, flat,
Yeah,
and they just come
yeah.
down and go.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Those lurkers on the roof. The trapper
Yeah.
was on the floor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of both. I can't think of what you're talking about. I know that monster. Yeah.
Me
Yeah,
too,
you-
and I can see it in my mind's eye, and straight.
It
out of the
basically
truck.
looks like an
Yeah.
ice cream cone with some googly eyes in
Yeah.
the art of
Yeah.
in the monster manual.
And
But
if you turn it up, it looks like the first picture of the roper, with little strings off of it. So.
But it's there's some really interesting reprints out there called Dungeon Crawl Classics. So if
Yeah.
you're interested in running a
Grab.
dungeon crawl,
grab, absolutely.
grab a couple of them. They're really cool. You don't have to even
Yeah.
run the whole adventure. You can
No.
just take the dungeon straight out of it.
They're
There's a lot
easy
Yeah.
to convert to 5th edition.
Yeah.
You can do that on the fly.
Yep.
We got a monster. Give me the book. Okay, here's your
Yeah,
monster.
and-
Now you got your stats.
And one of the most
going.
fun things to do in a dungeon delve is roll the monsters randomly.
Oh yeah, you can even go.
You
there's-
can go with first level rolls randomly, and just do the first level tables on the first level
Right.
of the dungeon. Or you can go like we did, which is 1 to 20.
and
Let's see what shows up.
well,
And
check,
running away is an option, people.
it's
Yes.
probably
Okay.
actually preferred.
'Cause
But
that death is the other option.
check out the fighter series. I forget which edition we talked about, but I think it was earlier, where we talked about randomly rolling monsters.
Yeah.
To include their dispositions. Sometimes they're helpful or friendly.
Yep.
So
Sometimes they're just hungry.
Yeah.
If you've killed a giant anaconda because you were traipsing through the swamp, keep some of the meat on you in a blood bag or
Yeah.
something. That's no. That means the wax covered inside.
Oh,
that. I'm gonna have to have a long talk with him later.
thought-
he's he's
But
level
yeah.
9 necromancer. He's got stuck on some.
So yeah, he's thinking somewhere else. So wait a minute. So am
Yeah.
I.
Blood bag is the bag you put all the body parts in.
That's
Yes,
right. That is
so-
correct. So with that, I mean, if you throw this to a monster or to an encounter or something like that, or even a
Right.
grizzly bear, you're like, okay, that's taken care of. Let's just kind of quietly walk off over here and not disturb their
Right.
meal or their cubs. And so, there's a lot of options to just walking up, hack and slash.
Since we're on the topic, let's cover it again. Typically, as we do our encounters, we have three. That's under my. We have 3 options that are true of most encounters. That's run, fight, or talk.
Mhm.
And obviously, if it's
Not necessarily in that order.
no, but that's your 3 general options. So, if it's too big a monster, of course you can run away. And you should allow the option most of the time for your players to be able to not, get killed. Fighting is going to be probably your primary option, particularly if you're dealing with like some skeletons or something goofy. But certain monsters can be talked with or reasoned with. And as an encounter, if you're going through the forest and you come upon some like a caravan or something, talking might be more preferable to fighting unless you're going to rob them. So
although chaotic evil bugbears just don't bother.
sure, and that's
But you
again
don't know.
opportunities
Again, you
for
don't
role
know.
play. How do you approach a particular encounter? These certain things that we saw a lot of in the old school dungeon delves, and particularly when you got 1d4 hit points. Like,
Yeah.
I'm all out of fireball. Maybe we should talk to the guy.
Fresh out of
Something.
If he doesn't know
So-
you're on fireball,
when he's talking about, when you're talking about monsters, that also
Yeah.
holds true to your NPCs, your bad guys that you design as part of your story.
Sure, any encounter.
Any encounter. So monsters kind of a loose term. It means the people that the heroes, the heroes are there to encounter.
Right, and so typically monster is not like a bear, but your giant centipedes or stuff like that.
Anything that's
Design your
forming.
encounter so that the bad guy could give them some information if they let him go free, or if they give him something to eat or something.
Yeah.
Who knows why he's there in the first place? Maybe he got lost,
Right.
separated.
And when it comes down to treasure, don't always give treasure. Try dropping a map.
Oh,
Sure. Something that's useful in the dungeon.
Something that's useful to take them somewhere else. Something that bridges something. Something that the guy has on him that maybe is some information that the party wasn't supposed to get a hold of. Maybe it helps the party in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it lets them know that somebody in the party is not part of the party.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of tricks and tips you can do there, but maps and player hints or player advancements go outside of the regular just treasure and treasure tables. On page 27 to 30 of Monsters and Treasure, It talks about some magic items on that. And in my opinion, coveted magic items.
It's monsters and treasure.
Yeah. It
27?
explains the benefits or hazards of finding a magical sword. Now, the cool thing about original D&D is it's not something you rolled for. All swords had an alignment. All swords. They had an intelligence and an ego. Nowadays, you roll for these things to see if, well, your magical item might have an intelligence.
We
and
treat
an
them
ego.
as a rare item.
Yeah,
because-
yeah, or very rare, or even legendary in some cases. Here, all magical swords had an alignment, intelligence, and an ego. They also had a chance for an origin and or a specific purpose, and those were the tables that you rolled on and got a little nervous about.
Yeah.
This, as with all treasure in your campaign, when you roll up, or when you have a campaign, make sure you roll all the treasure for every encounter. I don't care if it's an NPC, if it's a bad guy, if it's a monster. Roll the treasure beforehand, because if it's something they can use against the party, they're going to do it. Don't let something be killed and then find a extra healing potion and a wand of fireballs on the thing that you just killed. It destroys a game. Realism.
So
Realism in the fantasy world.
here's a couple of things to Gwydion's point about the ego of magical items, particularly swords. Swords could lead its user past better weapons. Right? You're not going to get that. I'm cooler,
Plus
obviously.
one?
Yeah.
I don't need a
It could allow itself to be captured by a higher level creature, which is closer to the sword's station. And then this one's the other one that I really like. It could require a share of the captured treasure to be given to it in the form of scabbards, jewel incrustation, magical devices, or guard when not in use. So your sword could start to take your money.
Yeah.
Some pretty interesting. But typically, as we would
I
see it,
need $1 million.
Right.
So, yeah.
We see it now where you've got basically some sort of magical enhancement or high quality craftsmanship. What they're talking about here would be something more of a legendary sword like an Excalibur, or something that would have a will of its own that you have to confer with or even overcome depending on the weapon.
Now, let's talk about the magic user and his 1die4 hit points.
Massive.
Everything had massive 1d4 with no constitution modifier bonus. Except if they had a constitution of 15 or more, they got 1 hit point, 1 pip added.
Per level?
No,
Nope.
just one.
Just
pip.
one.
Just 1 pip. And if they had a dexterity of 15 or better, they got +1 to missiles. You can have a plus 30 on dexterity, and you got +1 to missiles. If whatever weapon, even if that magical dagger that's like, oh, finally, he touches it, if it's not your exact alignment, you're going to take 1d6 or 2d6 of electrical damage when you touch it.
So this could be some.
Now, if you hang on to it, you're going to be, part of one of the.
You defeat the Lich, and he's got a nice shiny dagger, and you're like, oh, I'll try that out. Well, the dagger's evil, and you're not. Actually, in this one, I forget. It was lawful or chaotic. So that being a chaotic line dagger,
lawful, neutral,
and you're,
chaotic.
Yeah,
you're neutral. It's chaotic.
yeah.
or in a magic user's case, and just a little pile of dust.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I love the confetti right there.
Yeah.
Good one, Mr. Producer. So yeah, that could be a pretty tricky thing here, particularly because you just don't have the hit points to have a mistake.
And that's where hirelings came in. You would hire people of your same alignment, or supposed to be, to go up and touch items, grab things, and you would give them a share of the treasure.
My magic item taste tester.
It was. And if they were evil and were along with you and they touch that, and their commander and dagger go, nothing wrong with this, toss it to you, and the guy goes like that, then you're like,
like the Nazis on the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
I need another volunteer.
Yes.
No.
And everybody else steps back except that one guy.
Oh man. Yeah, don't do that. That's not good.
No.
I need another volunteer. Yeah.
If you have that idea and hire someone of alignment to do the touching first,
Come on, Patsy.
Yeah, not so fast, Moose Breath. An opening on page 27 states, if a non-player character is directed to take up a sword or weapon, the damage will be only 1/2 of that stated above, for the party is not acting as a free agent. So, how embarrassing. Even lowly halflings, are more powerful than your magic user.
Well, this yeah, and again, while the elves and dwarves had higher resistance to magic and things of that nature, as a human wizard, to have that potential to go beyond 6th level, like you might with a elf, you don't get any of those bonuses to magical resistance. So, enemy spells, these spell type effects could definitely be a big problem.
Yeah, additionally, the sword might cause the one who took it up to be freed from a spell, change alignment, or otherwise gain powers which would remove them from the service of their former master or higher. In addition, if the intelligence or ego of the sword is 6 or more points above that of the character who picks up the sword, it will control that person, even cause them to become aligned as the sword is. They will immediately act accordingly. This could mean, for example, that a hireling of a lawful PC ordered to pick up a neutral sword would deliberately lie about his powers. While the sword were chaotic, he would attack.
Now, this is a lot about swords. The magic user couldn't use swords,
No.
but they could encounter this with daggers.
Daggers,
Would
yeah.
you encounter this with stabs or wands as well?
No,
No.
those did not have an alignment. They were just magic. As a matter of fact, the magic of wands and staves and so like that were limited in their magic, but
Okay.
it was
They were-
set.
Yeah, they were
It
specific.
was set. Like
things.
6 dice for wands and 8
Yeah.
for staves.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So those
Yeah,
two
they were
things
very
are set.
specific.
Just wanted to note that out there for everybody who hasn't had the opportunity to see these in print.
This is the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So,
And we've taken a whole ton of time with that, so our apologies. We'll move on.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we want to highlight about Magic User here in the white box set, 1974?
They're just a wee baby.
Just a wee baby.
They start to grow up when we get to the red and blue box. They start to have a little more that they can do here and there. They still have one spell, but they're not as easy to kill.
Now they do get a 1st level spell as a 1st level magic user, where
Yeah.
clerics got no
No.
spells.
Yeah,
at
until
first level. So they at least get 1 spell to start with at 1st level.
Magic Missile.
Yeah.
Because if you have to roll to hit,
Well, aren't you cute? You're dead. Well, I'll just give you your rights. So yeah, there wasn't much to a
No.
magic user until such time as they got up in.
You're not going to have magic missile.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
They don't
not
exist.
for a while.
It don't exist.
Yeah.
As a note here, since Troy's got the table out for me, detect magic, hold portal, read magic, read languages, protection from evil, light, charm person, and sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is a very powerful spell.
Sleep was
Absolutely.
great. And
Yeah.
then you had knock because there was wizard lock, so you had the knock spell that could, open up
Not
magical
until
portals.
2nd level,
Not until
which
second
means you're a
second
3rd level.
That's
You had to
right.
survive 3 whole levels
Yeah.
to get to be able to knock on a door.
And that's not the first one you pick either.
Oh no,
So-
because in that you got like
Unless
levitate and phantasmal force.
Unless
you know.
everybody in the party goes, dude, get knock.
Yeah.
But then they're just trolling you. You're like,
Come on, guys.
I cast knock on his armor. Like, what? You're like, okay.
No, remember, control sphincter. That was from the last conversation.
Yeah, I'm not level 100.
Oh,
Wizard
yeah,
knocks
that's
on
right.
the door.
But,
Door turns out to be a mimic.
Anything else that you wanted to highlight there, Gwydion? So, it seems like we've pretty well covered the wizard in the white box 1974 Dungeons and Dragons. And so that means that we're going to get ready to bring out the basic set, the 5-box set, and talk a little bit about how the wizard began to grow up, how they became more powerful.
Oh, the Greyhawk.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of additional expansions we've talked about before that added more spells, added some settings, expanded NPC options, and that's going to be Blackmore, Greyhawk.
Greyhawk.
Wizardry would probably be your big one to have if you wanted to play a wizard in this edition.
Before we get into the box set, there is some
Yeah.
stuff to work with through like Greyhawk and so on. Now you
Yeah.
can cast a 9th level spell in Greyhawk. You had 125 spells to choose from, which that was an arsenal.
That's a huge amount.
That
now.
was an arsenal.
Yeah.
And the table talked about going through the 22nd level of experience for hit dice and spells and such like that. So there was all these aspects that changed, as well as they stated intelligence is your prime requisite.
Right.
That is where that started, was in Greyhawk.
So Greyhawk established intelligence for wizard
Yeah.
as the primary stat.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
the
forget
Greyhawk book.
Yeah.
Magic missile.
Hey, there we go.
There it is.
There it is.
It's only in the
It also
Yeah.
would give you the limitations on the percent chance of knowing a given spell. At 18, you had a 95% chance of knowing it. You could memorize a minimum of 8 to all the spells available, and all the way up to 9th level. If your intelligence was lower, things were limited to how far you could go,
Right,
what you could learn, what you could.
Couldn't get access to
Yeah, couldn't get
beyond
access
6th
to.
or 7th level because your intelligence was a 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit
Oh.
points were helped in that you could gain up to +3 per level if your score was 18 on your Constitution. So this is where you actually got
If you're a wizard
Uh,
in the gym.
Constitution modifiers. Yeah. I don't know many wizards that would do that.
So, we
So
got,
you are now also up to 11 die 4 with that bonus, but after that you would at 11 dice you would only receive 1 pip.
Yeah.
After that you couldn't keep adding the 3. So there was limitations and more calculations and so on, and that they would continue with. Monsters now were based on just a D8. Great. Even the more pathetic first level monsters
Got a boost.
got a boost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elves and sorcerers, half elves no further than 6th level in an MU, unless they had an intelligence of 18, they could go to 8th.
What were some of the stuff here we got?
Delayed blast fireball
Right.
Oh,
was
my
pulled out.
favorite.
That was brought out into a Greyhawk.
it's the equivalent.
Reverse gravity,
Oh,
simulacrum,
Right.
permanent spell, meteor swarm. These are game-breaking spells that came out in this, and we're like,
Nice.
so time stop, power word kill, gate, the monster summoning that went up all the way up to monster summoning 7.
Right.
Again, these were game breaking. Some of the even more popular, but never quite worked right. Damn that DM. Wish. So yeah, that's if you couple polymorph with anything followed up by disintegrate, you could destroy an ancient dragon if it took. If that
Sure.
polymorph took, you had the game breaking disintegrate to follow it up and just mop the floor.
Yeah. So Greyhawk Axe sounds like it added a lot of the big power spells that we're familiar with. And then Eldritch Wizardry added psionics.
Wait a minute, there was page 59 in here. I did mention 59. There it is. What does that look like to you that started there? On page
that's a
59?
deck of many things.
Yeah, the deck of many things. Started.
Ace of Hearts immediately gained 50,000 experience points.
Nice.
I
Yeah, nice.
am disinclined to acquiesce to your request. And that means no.
Right.
So,
I have a deck of many things.
Yeah.
As
The
a prop.
strategic review, number 4, predecessor of the dragon, introduced the illusionist magic user subclass. Wasn't fully fleshed out till later, but it's mentioned again in
Eldritch
the
Wizardry.
Eldritch Wizardry with regard to spell additions and so on. Meant for the new subclass of the cleric, the druid, and so on. That was all here, but there was so many huge changes in Greyhawk. I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger book. It was super tiny print.
It is fairly tiny print, and again, it's a little better organized than its predecessors, like Men and Magic
A lot
and things,
more, yes.
but still a little scattered.
A lot of
It didn't refer
Magic
back
items.
to chainmail much.
Well, at that point, they had sort of codified all the combat rules
Yep.
with the Greyhawk expansion into one book, so chainmail became less of a focus or less of a need once
Yeah.
you had the Greyhawk book.
Now, Blackmore, nothing was really added to help the magic user.
Most everything tried to kill the magic user.
Yeah,
in
it just
Blackmore.
gained steam on how to kill a magic user. That was all they
Yeah.
were about. Called shots, hit locations, and psionics that would come up later in other editions. And as if that wasn't bad enough, they also in Blackmore introduced diseases. So let's just go ahead and make them pathetic as well as weak.
Hey, you're congratulations, wizards! You have rickets.
Wow.
Oh no, Lockjaw! You can't cast anymore.
Tetanus could kill you.
Now
Scurvy.
that was the big thing about magic users is magic users could heal just like clerics
Right.
in the original, and so you had magic users and clerics to be able to heal, and especially with magic users being able to make potions.
Yeah.
So that helped. Anyway,
So I
Okay,
almost missed those
yeah.
big major additions. Sorry about that, Gwydion.
that's okay.
Did we want to highlight anything before we get on to the next set? Did we get
Eldritch Free Psionics.
Yeah.
We hated it. Nobody cares.
Still don't use it? Nope.
Yeah. Second ability is gained by the magic user. Let's see. You could use a second level spell to gain 2 firsts. Back then, there was
Oh yes,
you gained abilities.
Yeah, rather than taking your second level spell, you can take 2 first level
Yeah.
spells.
Yeah.
So at third level, you'd have 3 first level spells, but not have a second. When you're, with the expansion of the spell list, it was not a bad trade necessarily. But,
Depending on what you're doing.
right, you would find a lot more utility in the first level spells, and you'd start to find some more specific stuff as you get into second and third.
Speaking of new ways to kill magic users, gods, demigods, and heroes found a new way by only comparing what the damage the magic user was about to take with his own spells. So it would say the spell is cast as a 20th level magic user.
Oh, no.
So now you know what's killing you and how powerful and
Sure.
and such, but it didn't go anywhere to help you.
No.
Swords and spells, which was also referred to as the grandson of chainmail, was basically more about miniatures, battles, and so on. But we
Right.
did build these characters individually in D&D to then take to chainmail or swords and spells and do the big battles.
Right.
And I would really suggest starting to do that as well. Is starting to take them and put them into the big battles and have them lead it or back it up and casting spells over. Spells are categorized into time to cast rather than classes or levels. Page 11 on that details on this and swords
Right,
and
particularly with
spells.
the
So
when you
fi-
get into chainmail, the way they did initiative was based on your range. You start with
Yeah.
ballista, catapults, and you work down on your archers and wizards, and then
Yeah.
finally your fighters and melee types.
And now they're talking about time to cast,
Right.
which means wand staves, wands were immediate on their casting, while 7th to 9th level took full turns to prepare before casting on the next turn. Scrolls took 1.5 turns just to prepare. So that was some things that worked out there, plus the ranges, area of effect, time duration. This was seen for the first time here before it started coming out, and they really started setting that up
Right.
and setting the precedents and giving us something we could look at and go, okay, we have this now to work from, and we can take these aspects and compare them across the line and see which ones we want
Right.
and which ones are going to help us in battle. And something that doesn't take 6 turns or an hour to prepare when we're in battle, I'm going to have to take these 2 spells instead of this spell and this spell, because that takes 10 hours to prep.
But the magic missile spell in the original box did 1d6 plus 1 damage. And you had 1 missile to the 5th level, then you got a second shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember them,
So-
at some point they ended up just being D4s. You just grab
Yes.
a bunch of tiny pyramids.
Yes, we'll find out where they come D4s. I believe it's in the red or blue box.
Yeah. So they'll
And,
be
and the last comment I've got on swords and spells, and this is personal opinion, saving throws were still stupid, as it was tied to class and level and type rather than ability scores and natural race or other resistances.
So you lost a lot of characters for a couple of percentage dice, didn't you?
Even when you got them on a full piece of paper.
Yeah.
Hand me your character. Thanks.
Yeah.
Did you bring another one?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Well, go roll one up in the other room, bring it in. All right. I think that brings
It's
us
okay,
to the...
Gwydion.
I
We
think-
still love you.
I'm okay.
So,
That brings us to the red box.
all right then. So we are now finally ready to transition. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Don't forget that as we go through this series, you're welcome to ask us any questions. We can pull any of the books off the shelf behind us. We'd be glad to crack it open and explore that with you. As a note,
We
like-
do that for show because we have it all memorized.
yeah, okay.
Right.
Don't forget you can follow, like, subscribe, comment anywhere that you find this video, and we'd be glad to have your feedback on that. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with the red box basic set and get into a little bit more of the wizard here on I Want to Be a GM's Through the Ages. I'm Jester Borris.
I'm Troy, Planescape guy.
Gwydion the Long-Winded.
And we'll see you guys in just a few minutes.